Hello again, YouTube. It's Skylar. Welcome back to my face. I have been absent for a little while, and that's because I've been recovering from seasonal allergies, sinus infection, and I just kind of needed a break from YouTube anyway, in general, because I'm not a robot and I can't just pump out videos every single day like a machine. But I'm here today because I watched a video recently from a YouTube creator that I admire greatly, who made a video regarding things that they would tell their previous self or their younger self. And they encouraged people like myself, other YouTuber creators, to sort of do the same thought experiment. So I sort of wanted to take some time today to make a video about that, about things that I would tell my younger self, things that I know now that I didn't know back then. So obviously I'm transgender, so there's a lot of things that I would tell my previous self, but there's also a lot of things that don't relate to being transgender, and I think a lot of people can probably do this thought experiment because it can help sort of better wrap your mind around the fact that you're not the same person throughout your entire life. Every day you're a different person, kind of, but you move through kind of a window, and sometimes it's easier looking back than it is looking forward. So, what would I tell my younger self? It depends on how far back I plan to go. I think probably maybe 10 years ago would probably be best, just because of circumstances and everything. But so I'm age 26 as of right now, so let's go back to age 16. What would I, myself, as a 26-year-old, tell my 16-year-old self? Probably don't be scared. I think anxiety has controlled a lot of aspects of my life and have prevented me from moving forward in a lot of directions. So I think it's important. I think the most important thing would be telling myself not to give into the anxieties and not to focus too much on the what ifs, but if the here nows, because it's more prevalent to recognize things that are going on in the present rather than the things that may or may not happen in the future, because you can immediately control what's going on in the present. And you don't necessarily always have the control over what happens in the future. To an extent, of course. Some of the other things that I would probably tell my younger self would be more social. About 10 years ago, when I was 16-ish, I was very antisocial. And I was antisocial almost on purpose. Like, I wanted to be antisocial, and I think this really hindered my self-development in a lot of ways that could have been prevented had I been more open to the idea of being social around other people. And again, this probably leads back into the idea of anxiety disorders, but some of it was self-conscious and some of it was self-deliberate. And I wish that I could have told myself 10 years ago to try to be more sociable, even if it wasn't the perfect idea at the time. It would have tremendously helped me. And of course, with regard to the fact that I'm transgender, 10 years ago, I was presenting as a male, and a lot of my problems most likely stemmed from the fact that I was not being my authentic self. So I would probably tell my previous self to be more open to ideas and change, because I do remember as a 16-year-old being very rigid and stubborn to the idea of change. Very close-minded, almost as if I always had the right idea from the start and nothing could change my mind. And I think that mindset is probably what caused me to have such a delay in my transition. Where if I had been more open-minded to the idea of change in my life in general, it would have opened the door for me to transition probably much sooner than that, maybe even as young as 18. And that developmentally would have helped me so much more than waiting the 6-8 years longer that it took for me to actually transition. So I would probably tell my younger self to just be open to change. Don't always think that you have the right answers all the time, because sometimes you can be wrong. And that's okay, because you learn when you're wrong and you can fix it. But assuming that everything that you know now is the correct answer is just pure arrogance. And I would want my former self to know that no one is always right on every issue. No one is always correct in every area of everything. And it's okay to fail. And it's okay to be wrong. And honestly, had I known that 10 years ago, I would have probably been developmentally much farther along than I am right now. So, this is a really personal video, honestly. But I think it's really important that we sort of look inward to our own emotions and see how far we've come, so that we can recognize those same attributes to further progress in the future. I mean, I'm only 26 now, but, I can only imagine myself making this same video at the age of 36, the age of 46, telling myself right now things that I wish I would have known then. So, I guess it's important to remember that we're always changing and growing, and it's okay to fail sometimes. It's okay to make mistakes, because that's how we learn. And being afraid of failing, being afraid of messing up because we fear how other people will see us, that's what stops us from progressing in the first place. So if we only care about what other people think, then we never care about how we ourselves as human beings feel. So with that said, I hope that was informative, even though it was really more personal for me. But as I said before, it was recommended by a YouTuber that I highly admire, so I decided to jump on the bandwagon of making such a video today. And until the next video, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.